Hello, everybody, and welcome. Oh, let me turn this off. Welcome to the next edition of Saturday Chat Live here on Saturday, September 30th. 30th. At least that's where the date where I'm at. If you're in a different part of the world, it might be tomorrow already. So I'm so glad you stopped by the live stream here for the end of September. Tomorrow is October 1st, my favorite month of the year. I cannot wait. The leaves are already starting to change here in the Midwest of the USA, and I'm excited for October 1st. So there's lots to go over today because this is going to be a last live stream for probably about a month, and I'll explain why and all that kind of stuff. Some of you already know. But yeah, lots of stuff to go over today. I'm going to try to keep today maybe on the shorter side, like 30 minutes or so, because I have a lot to do this weekend, which I'll explain here in a second, and I'm sure you do too. So we'll try to keep it compact and compressed today and not try to meander too much. But I definitely want to give you time to post your comments, put over questions you have in the chat, and we'll just see how much time it takes to get through it all, and we will go from there. So the first thing I always like to hear is kind of sort of where you're watching from, where in the world, what country, city you happen to watch, you're watching in, and it kind of gives me a scope of the reach of the channel. And of course, I like just hearing from different people in different parts of the world. So let me know where you're watching from, and we'll get started on any comments or questions you might have. So as I said, I have a lot to go over in terms of the channel today, and then sort of what the next live stream will be and when it will be and stuff like that. So the first thing to point out is that this will be the last live stream probably until the end of October, because in a few days I'm leaving for Switzerland, and I will be there for 2 weeks, or actually more than 2 weeks, 15 days. And then I'll get right back, and then the next weekend will be too soon to do a live stream. So it'll be the next week after that, which is basically the end of October. So you won't have to listen to me drone on until probably Saturday, October 28th will probably be the next live stream, just so you know. If you don't see the post for the live stream pop up, it's because I am overseas for over 2 weeks in Switzerland. So I see your chats coming in and your comments. I'm going to put those up on the screen here in a second, so keep them coming. You let me know where you're watching from. You can start asking questions or have comments, and then I can put those up after I get sort of through the sort of house cleaning, I guess, of the channel and what we're working on and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll be in Switzerland for 2 weeks in different parts. I'll be in Geneva, and then I'm going to go down to Zermatt with a friend of mine, and we're going to hike at the Matterhorn and visit the Matterhorn. Then I'm going to go to Lauterbrunnen Valley and do some hiking up at the top there, go to Schilthorn, and then I'm going to go to a couple day trips. Then I'm going to go to Zurich, and then I'm going to come back to Geneva for a couple days, and then I'm back in the U.S. So it's going to be a busy but relaxing trip, because I really need to take a break right now. I'm pretty cooked in terms of just stuff I've been working on and everything else. So I'm looking forward to unplugging for a couple of weeks and just enjoying our beautiful world. Obviously, Switzerland is one of the most beautiful places on earth if you like mountains and stuff. There are beautiful deserts, and there are beautiful, tundras and stuff too. So for me, that's the kind of landscape I kind of like. So I'm looking forward to seeing the beautiful views in Switzerland, and of course the people and petting cows, apparently. So that's where I'll be. Now, just because I am overseas for a couple of weeks does not mean that there won't be new content coming out. So you've probably been noticing, if you are a subscriber to the channel, which I hope you are, that I've been recently releasing my TLDR series. So if you don't know, that means too long, didn't read. So whenever you see TLDR, that means too long, didn't read. And I just finished a whole playlist on statistics. And the goal of these, it looks like this. And the goal of these videos is to just be a quick 2 to 4 minute overview of the main topics of some discipline. So in this case, it's statistics, but it's not the only one I'm working on. I'll go into that in a minute. So these are meant to be simple, quick hitting, 2 to 4 minute overviews of whatever concept it's it's about, right? So this playlist here that you see is about statistics, and there are other ones I'll talk about here in a second. It's primarily audio. It's just audio and text. So it's meant to be like it's almost like a visual podcast in a way. But what I do is I go in, if you haven't seen them, I put what I'm saying on the screen, and then I highlight certain words to emphasize their importance or to put an idea, sort of together. So they're not a large investment in time. They are great if you are, I'll tell you what they're really good for. There's a couple of things they're good for. Let's say you're in a class or something else like that, and you're going to study, let's say you're going to study linear regression next week in your class. And you would just like a quick overview of what like linear regression is in 2 to 4 minutes. That's what these are great for. You can watch that video, get like a 30,000 foot view of what the topic is, and then when you go into class, you'll have an idea of what linear regression is about. Kind of on the reverse of that, it's good for review. So if you have a quiz or a test or exam coming up and you just want a quick couple of minute overview of a topic, you can watch it right before your quiz, test, or exam. That can refresh your memory on certain things, and then you can go in and do your quiz, test, or exam. So they're kind of meant to be like that. And of course, if you watch them all in sequence, in this case for statistics, you can cover the entire playlist in like around 45 minutes. So you can get an entire overview of introductory statistics in 45 minutes. The whole thing. So that's kind of what I did them. It's a new type of content I've been experimenting with to see if it's helpful to people. It's also something, because they're shorter, that I can crank out very quickly and allows me to produce more content quickly. That does not mean that I am not doing regular content as well, right? So let me move this. So yeah, it does not mean I'm going to give up on the other content, but it's just kind of what I'm working on, now, all right? So like I said, this is not the only discipline that I'll be doing that series in. If you've been following, you'll also know that I've been doing one on finance. So my channel and my interests aren't just with statistics and data science and stuff like that, machine learning. It's really in the context of business. So my day job is working on business statistics, business analytics, managerial finance, operations management, and supply chain. That's what I do in my day job. So it's really quantitative business is what I do for a living. So my interests extend beyond statistics. So this TLDR series is going to be more expansive around business topics, because I think it's really important to understand the broader context of these quantitative disciplines within the broader area, in my case, of business, all right? So there's a finance one that is in progress right now. There's also one that you'll be interested in probably. It's the TLDR series based on the ISL book, so the Introduction to Statistical Learning. So if you're looking for a bit more advanced type stuff, machine learning type stuff, a lot of you know about this book already. So it's a TLDR series on ISL. I think there are 2 of those out already, and those will be coming out every Friday, depending on where you are in the world. They'll be coming out like every Friday. So make sure you look out for those. In addition to regular statistics, finance, and the ISL book that you see here, there's also going to be a series on accounting. So in this case, it's financial accounting. So some basics of accounting. It's also a good, primer if you're trying to get a little bit more business knowledge and just general business knowledge to learn just how business works, your personal life, your professional life, just in general. These are good for that too. So there'll be an accounting one. And then there's also going to be what I'm working on now for calc. And then there's a whole, there's like a dozen more or so different TLDR series that I'll be working on over the next several months in the next year, in addition to the other stuff I'm doing. So while I am overseas, you will still be seeing released content every single day. like through the end of October, even though I'm technically on vacation. So there's plenty of content coming. So make sure you look out for those. And of course, if you're in class or whatever else, share them with people because they're really meant to help students and learners, right? So those are going to keep coming out on the channel every day. One or the other, one of those will be on the channel released every day for the next month or more. All right. They take a lot of work to do. They're not as easy as I thought they would be. It's a lot of manual editing. It's a lot of manual work on getting the text how I want it, getting the colors how I want them, and stuff like that. So I thought it might be easier, but it's actually not, especially when you do all the descriptions and thumbnails and stuff like that. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go to the chat here. See what we got. I got some more stuff to talk about, but we'll go to the chat. So Godfrey, hi. From Uganda, amazing, excellent. Hope you're doing well over there. So I've not been to that part of the world yet, but I'm a new international traveler, so I'm kind of sticking to Europe first because it's a bit easier for me to I know some of the language there, and it's a bit more familiar to me. But I hope to expand obviously beyond that, not just be Eurocentric with my travel. So I hope to get over different parts of the world someday. So. Godfrey, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you coming by the live stream. Somia, hope I'm saying that correctly. Hello, watching from Morocco. Amazing. So that was, there was a really bad earthquake there, wasn't there? I believe so. A couple of weeks ago. So I'm not sure. I think I have that right. So Somia, if you were near or affected by that, or anyone you know was affected by that, my thoughts are with you, and I hope everyone, is okay or doing better. I know it was, if I'm correct, it was a pretty devastating earthquake. They're not unheard of there, but when they do happen, they tend to be pretty big. So, hope you're doing okay. Mukul, hello from India. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Let's see. Godfrey says, I wish to start by appreciating you for the commendable job. Oh, thank you so much. You're an outstanding teacher who has made the subject statistics easy to follow. Well, it's so kind of you to say. Thank you so much for that. And like I've always said, well, first of all, really the commendation goes to you, Godfrey, and people like you, because, any educator is asking for your time, and time is the most valuable thing any of us have. The clock is always ticking, and we only have so much time, and literally so much time. And when I ask for it, I want it to be good. I want it to be a helpful resource to make it worth the time you're spending. So really, the kudos really goes to you. I appreciate your very kind comment. But really, my clap goes to you and all the other learners out there that are really working hard to do the best they can in school or in their careers, or just to be curious, just to learn something because it's there, right? So thank you. And I stand on the shoulders of giants, of teachers that I've had over the years. And without them, I wouldn't be who I am. And I wouldn't have a love of learning that I do. So, I just pay it forward in the best way I can. I'm horrible at so many things. If you ever seen me draw, it's like, it's horrible. Okay. So I can't draw worth crap. I can't do a lot of things worth crap, but I can learn and teach pretty good. So that's what I try to do. And I think we all should try to find something that we enjoy doing, we're good at. Hopefully we can make a living doing it and use that opportunity to pay forward. Because everyone wins. You're doing something you like to do and love to do, and you're putting something back out into the world that helps other people. So you win and they win, and I'm lucky enough to be in a situation in my career, my 9-to-5 career, on YouTube and other stuff I do, to be able to do that. So I really, really appreciate that. All right. So yeah, please put in your questions or comments in the chat, and I'll put it up on the screen like you see here. But I'm gonna grab a drink of water real fast while anyone wants to do that. Once I start talking, my throat gets dry. So Okay. All right. I will see if anyone wants to post a comment, question, or whatever in the chat, and I will put it up. So just to reiterate a couple of things as well, let me share my screen over here. That's not the look I wanted. There we go. So obviously here on the channel, you can find all the playlists. So if you're ever lost, just go into this playlists here, right here. You'll see that YouTube is horrible with playlists. They just cannot figure out how to do playlists right. So you have like my stuff down here, but you won't see my, private stuff like moving to Europe maybe at some point. I was researching that. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is awesome. And of course, my trip coming up, I have a playlist for that, but you won't see those. But if you go to my channel as a viewer, you will see all the playlists that I've created for each sort of topic. Okay. So I put the popular playlists here, right here. So by far, the regression playlists, logistic playlist, and then the interval estimation hypothesis testing are by far the most watched playlists. So I put those here easily for you. But yeah, always start with the playlists if you're looking to get a broad overview of a topic, sort of in sequence. And the playlists are in order. So, playlist, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's like going through a textbook. So it gets more advanced as you go. It's different topics as it goes. But inside each playlist, they're also ordered. They're not just a bunch of randomness, right? So sometimes the order might seem wrong, but sometimes it's hard to when topics are intertwined, it's really hard because you really can't pick one to go first linearly, but they're all there. They make logical sense. You can go back and forth if you really want to. So make sure you follow the playlist if you have any questions. Also down here in the Stats 101 course, they're all in order. So you have, playlist 1 only has like one video in it, but then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you can see them all one after the other. Okay. So they're all there. All right. Anyway, so yeah, so make sure you, if you can also search, by the way, if you go to the search box here, on the right, if you're looking for a topic or video on a topic, you can search in there. And if there's a video on that topic, it'll pop right up. All right. Okay. So let me put it back to me. Let's see what you've been saying in here. Okay. So Monica says, hi, this is Monica from Zambia. Incredible. Love it. Your videos have helped me become a better student in statistics. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Monica. I appreciate that, so much. But like I mentioned to Godfrey before, the real kudos goes to you because the person that made you a better student in statistics is you. Because you came onto YouTube, you went on wherever you need to go, you went and found the resources you needed, wherever it might be. You made the effort, you took the initiative, and took the time to go do it. That is what makes you a better statistics student. People like me and StatQuest and other channels, we put the content out there into the world. We try to do a good job at making the content, but we don't, it's just there. It's just there. It takes the user, the student, to take that in. My nose itches, obviously. It takes the student the initiative to go out and do it. That's what makes people better students, right? So I appreciate your very kind comment. I'm glad the videos have helped you, so much. But again, just like, Godfrey said earlier, you are the hero here, not me or anyone else. So pat yourself on the back. And do something nice for yourself if you don't already, which I'm sure you probably do. So kudos to you. All right. Somia says, thank you. I'm doing really well. While the earthquake had a devastating impact. We have since made significant progress toward recovery and stability. Excellent. I have a question if you don't mind. Of course, that's what I'm here for. So if you have a question and that's related to the channel or something like that, I'm happy to answer it. That's why we're here. But I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad some recovery and progress has been made in that part of the world. It was pretty crazy. You don't really expect to hear of a big earthquake. I know they happen there, but you think they're going to be somewhere along the Pacific Rim, right? But nature always wins one way or another. But I'm glad you're doing great. I'm glad you're doing okay. Shalindra, hope I said that correctly. Check on something real fast. Sorry, I'm doing multiple screens here. So good evening from India. Hello. Thank you for sharing your invaluable knowledge. Could we expect MC/DM playlist in the future? Could you, are you talking about multi-criteria decision making? I think that's what that is. I don't know all the acronyms. I should probably look it up, shouldn't I? Hold on. Yeah, yes, that's what it is. So make sure that's correct. If you're talking about multi-criteria decision making, one, make sure that is, I got that correct about what you're actually asking for, and two, I'd have to look more into it. Obviously, I stick to intro stats and related topics. And of course, I'm doing the TLDR series now. I have about 5 other big ideas for videos. For video playlists. It's just a matter of time, just a matter of time. So I also try to look, I can look in the analytics of YouTube and see what searches lead to my channel. And I use that also to inform sort of what I do, right? So it's just a matter of time and resources. But if multi-criteria decision making is what you're referring to, I can look into it, but I can't make any promises, so. All right. Okay. Juan David says, you're doing God's work, sir. I appreciate that. I'm definitely not doing God's work or anything, but, I consider my work very human. I'm really sort of a humanist type person, but I appreciate the sentiment, and I would encourage all of us to find some way to give back and do something we love at the same time if possible. And the judgment of how good that is really rests with the end user. So my it's probably not anything I came up with, but the saying I go by is that I may not change the world, but I might change one person's world. And to me, that is good enough. Okay, that's good enough. But thank you, Juan. I appreciate it so much. Somebody says, can I contact you either by email or your preferred way about my own statistical analysis? Their videos have been a big help as I'm new to stats, but I'm struggling to apply what I've learned. You can contact me a couple of different ways. You can contact me on LinkedIn, and you can contact me through my website, which I'll show you how to do that here real fast. Make it larger. So you get my website. It's just bcfoltz.com. Those are my, it's my name, bcfoltz.com. If you go to contact me, live stream question form, and then once you click on this, you'll see like a little box you can click in, and then here you can send me a message that way. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. So you can do that. Like I said, the other way is LinkedIn. But I do want to put the caveat, Somia, is that I don't do like one-on-one consultations or tutoring or anything like that because one, I don't have the time to do stuff like that. Two, to really understand a person's situation or analysis or whatever else really requires, a really lot of intensive kind of looking at everything back and forth. So if you have a quick question about something, I'm more than happy to take a few minutes to look at it. So it just depends on the scope of what you are asking for, and then we can go from there. So you can send me a question to my website or LinkedIn or whatever else. I'll take a look at your question and whatever else, and then I will offer whatever help I can within a given amount of time and resources. Okay. I don't want to overpromise anything that I can do because I'm already stretched so thin that I don't want to overpromise and then underdeliver. Okay. Let's see here. Pankaj. Hope I'm saying that correctly. I try to say everyone's names properly because everyone deserves to have their name pronounced properly. But obviously, I'm in one part of the world where I don't see names spelled a certain way. So I apologize if I butcher it. I do my best. I just want to thank you, sir. You've been amazing. Thank you. I'm very grateful to be able to find your channel. Your lectures on advanced statistics are amazing and a lifesaver. So, you're very welcome. That's why I do it. I tell you another funny thing though is that what I sort of realized over time on the YouTube channel is that the video I produce is in some ways almost just a byproduct or an afterthought of my own learning. So when I sit down to make a video, I try to get into my own learning space and then the learner's head, and then think about the best way to disassemble something in my own head and put it back together in a way that meets the needs of the learner that's outside of me. That's really the beauty in it. That's the process. When I'm sitting down making the PowerPoints or doing the TLDR series, when I'm sitting around doing those, the real beauty in it for me and the real meaning in it for me is actually in that part of the process. And the videos just sort of pop out of that process. It's like someone who just loves singing or writing music or painting. Oftentimes they're not like sitting down to sing or to paint or to do whatever. They just naturally do it, and then out pops a painting or a song or a YouTube video or whatever else. So I do these things because I find them interesting and it's a way to help people. So, but again, like I've said to other people in this live stream, I am not anyone's. I know why people say it, and I appreciate it. I'm not anyone's savior. What I try to do is to help people help themselves. And it really takes effort and initiative and time for you all, the viewer and the learner, to commit and put in that effort. So it's really you all that make yourselves better, and people like me and other channels that do this just we lay the tools out, but you have to go pick them up. And that's what so many of you do. And, there was a comment about a month or two ago. I forgot what it was. I forgot the exact language of the comment. But, some people can be really self-righteous on YouTube and in the internet sort of in general. And it was something about, students today being, coddled and spoon-fed and stuff like that. And, I think my point is that if someone's coming onto YouTube or anywhere else to get help, they've taken the initiative to find the resources they need, while there are 10 other people sitting on their ass somewhere. So it's you all that are the stars here. It's you all that are the that deserve the praise, that come on and put in the time and effort. So I'm not discounting the compliment. I really do. I do have a problem accepting compliments. Anyone who's known me knows I have a really hard time taking help and compliments. But I do appreciate that. But it's really you all that do the hard work. So, all right. Yes, I'll make sure that I won't demand a set amount of time for your time. Thank you. Excellent. So yeah, it's when it comes to one-on-one, people wanting me to look over their stuff. Plus also it's also in these situations I'm not saying this is you. I'm not saying this is you, Somia. But as you can imagine, I get contacted from people like me wanting to do their homework or check their homework or stuff, which is obviously something I cannot or will not do. So, and sometimes I don't know what they're asking me to do. Are they asking me to do their homework and not telling me? Or they're asking me to work on their project and not telling me? I don't know. So I have to be cautious with my time and that I don't do anything that is unethical academically, working on people's one-on-one stuff. So, all right. Excellent. Excellent. Moises? Probably saying that wrong. I'll just call you M, because that's what it is, a big old M. So M asks, how do you study? Do you reread, highlight, summarize, and or do a lot of exercises? So, great question. I could talk about this crap for like 2 hours. I would probably divide this question into like my school days and now. Okay? So without making this a really massively long answer. So I grew up at a time, so I'm almost 50 years old now. In a couple of years I'll be 50 years old. And so I grew up in a time where, well before the internet, where the way we learned was what we would consider now very traditional. So, like I go into like calculus class, whatever else. We go into class, had really great teachers, public school teachers, who would, kind of do a small little lecture on the topic, and then, we'd work some problems on the board, literally on the board, sometimes with chalk, then markers, but work problems, some example problems. We'd all follow along, and then we'd get pardon my language, then we would get a shit ton of homework. Like, tomorrow's homework is all odd problems between 1 and 50. Like, just a mountain of problems to work. So that's primarily in the math classes. Also, I would say chemistry was like that for me in my high school. We just hammered through a ton of problems, content, and stuff like that. So growing up in school, that was how I would study, right? So follow along with the notes, take a lot of notes, look up my notes when I'm doing my homework, which was a ton of problems. My nose itches, it's annoying me. Do a ton of problems. And we come in the next day, go over those problems in class. So that's kind of how I learned, back then. It was a very sort of old school traditional way of doing it, which I think there's a value in that. There's a value in just sitting your butt down in a chair or in a coffee shop or in your apartment or home, whatever else, and just hammering through problem after problem after problem. It takes time. But what that does is it creates muscle memory. It creates mental muscle memory. And by doing those problems, you find patterns. You see patterns. Not explicitly. It's like an unconscious thing. But you find patterns in working these problems, and they become easier. You can do harder ones and harder ones. And be honest, I took AP Calculus, both in high school and college, for example. Do I really use calculus day to day? Not really. So knowing some basic stuff is good enough. But what it did do, it taught me how to think. It taught me how to work through a problem. It taught me how to problem solve. And that's kind of how we learned back then. So what you say here, reread, highlight, summarize, do a lot of exercises, that's how I learned when I was younger in school. Now, I learn through curiosity. So anyone who knows me knows that I find a million things interesting. So if I'm not sleeping, I'm learning something. I don't know. It's like it's a compulsion, but it's not like it's a compulsion to learn, but it's not anything that causes many problems, right? It's not a condition. I just find a lot of stuff interesting. So I read a lot of books. I watch a lot of videos myself. Almost everything I watch on TV is like a documentary, like historical documentary, a science documentary, or whatever else. I watch a lot of that kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks now. And really, I seek out new experiences. Because when you go into a new experience, you're forced to learn. So like the first time I traveled overseas, I went to Germany. I'd never been overseas at all. I'd never been to like really another country at all. And I had to learn when I got there, right? How to get place to place, how to learn how to use the train system, right? How different cultural things work over there. But that was because I would put myself in a new experience. So by seeking out new experiences, it forces a person to learn. So I do that. But mainly I have a natural curiosity about how the world works. And sometimes it's topical. So during the financial crisis, which affected me and a lot of people very severely, I read 30 books on the financial system. So I just completely gobbled up content about that topical crisis. So during that time, I learned a whole lot about the financial system and how it all works and stuff like that. Same thing happened, during COVID. So obviously during COVID, at the height of it, couldn't go anywhere. I was stuck in my house like everybody was. But I did have my Kindle. So I just started reading books on infectious diseases. I probably read 50 books on infectious disease during COVID because I couldn't do anything else. And learning about it helped me cope, if that makes sense. That's one of my ways of coping with certain events and catastrophic and, really, it could be good or bad, but usually really monumental events is to learn about it. So now as an adult, as someone who's almost 50 years old, my learning now is based just on curiosity, right? And not to be morbid, but I'm sure one of my final learning things will be just about learning about the end of life. And I will learn about that too, which is fine. So anyway, I knew that this answer was going to be a bazillion years long. I'm sorry, but it is a great question. But now, but I will say this one last thing about this question is that now if there is something specific that I really need to learn, like a skill or whatever else, not just sort of a general knowledge, the way I learn is by incorporating many different threads and viewpoints to learn something. I don't just learn from one thing. So for me, I think of learning in 3 dimensions or more, but 3 dimensions. So I will learn if I'm learning about, let's say I'm learning about Python, whatever, okay? That means I might have a book or two on Python. That means I might have some YouTube videos on Python. That means I'll probably be doing courses on like Udemy or something on Python. Working on some projects that I find on YouTube, whatever else. So I'm always it's a multifaceted way of learning. And what that does for me, it allows me in my brain to build connections between things. Because every new node connects to everything else. literally and figuratively. So that's how I learn now, is through like multi-dimensional, multifaceted, node-based pieces of information or learning, and then it all connects. And then all of a sudden I have this really sort of beautiful, multi-dimensional grid of knowledge. And a lot of that knowledge is just because I'm curious about it, not because I need to learn it necessarily. All right. Me blabbing on. Godfrey asks, sorry, Brandon, are you based at a university or you work privately? If at the university, do you offer specialized training, say at master's level or postgraduate level? So right now, I work in sort of corporate America. That's my day job in the field of education technology. So I don't work in a university or anything like that. I'm not sure I'd even want to. That was actually my first plan, was to become a professor and teach in a university. But universities and a lot of education institutions have become such toxic political places and stuff like that, that I'm not sure, at least in the United States. Maybe I could do something overseas where it's not like that, but or if not like that. So right now I don't work in a university or anything like that. I work in corporate America in educational technology, actually for a company that makes these books, which I've probably shown before. Oops, that's the old one. So I work for the company and on the product team that makes these. So this is my day job right here. So this is our business analytics book, which is becoming ginormous. Oh, this thing weighs a ton. This is our business stats book. These are all the market leading books in the US, by the way. When I say market leading, I mean just crushing market leading. So we work on those. That's my day job. The YouTube thing started during the Great Recession, actually. And it was a hard time finding a job. I was working on my PhD, but one, I ran out of money. 2, it was during the recession. And 3, I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do anymore because of the politics and toxicity of higher education in many places. So the YouTube channel started during the recession when I didn't have anything else really I could do. So I just said, you know what, I can learn and I can teach, and YouTube is free. I have a computer, so let's go. And that's when it started. And here we are, over 10 years later. So that's kind of how all that started. If at the university, which obviously I'm not, I will say too, I might be a bit too independent-minded. I don't like being told what to do because I know what to do. So these like bureaucratic top-down institutions and stuff, I'm not sure I'd actually thrive very well in them. So I'm way too much of a free spirit, independent type person. Luckily, for the most part, my day job allows me to be, pretty independent and self-driven and stuff, at least for now. So, yeah, I'm not sure it's really the place for me anyway. Plus, why? I thought about it, Godfrey, and I can go in a university and teach what, maybe, if I had a full day of teaching, depending on how big the school is, 75 to 100 students a day at a university. On YouTube, I can teach 10,000 a day. So why not do that instead? All over the world. So I actually can do more teaching on YouTube and stuff like that than I could ever do in a classroom setting anyway. So it actually all worked out. All right. So, I don't offer any specialized training or anything sort of like that. All right. So I'm going to catch up with the chat here, and then we'll go for a few more minutes, and then we'll see what else you got to say. Because I'm going to actually, when I get done with the live stream, I'm going to pick up my computer bag, go right up to the coffee shop. Even though it's a beautiful day here, it's actually perfect. It's perfect outside. But I'm going to go up to the coffee shop, do a couple hours of work on the calculus TLDR series. So I want to get that done before my trip. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some YouTube work after this live stream up at the coffee shop I go to. So Charlene said, yes, is what she meant. So this was back up here about multi-criteria decision making. I have to look more into that and see. So, I'm in postgraduate training in biostatistics. Yeah, so I'm not in biostat or anything. I have a biostat book, I think, just for reference, but biostats is not my area. But my area is like business stats. Okay. Capel says, hi, hello, good to see you. Julie, hello, hello. Good to see you. I think you've been in the live stream before, I think. Julie says, I have to learn that way. I work a lot harder than my peers in school because I need to get it from a variety of directions or it won't stick. Absolutely. So that's a good way. That's a good metaphor as well. It's like an educational web. So the more things like I learn, it creates like a web that allows other things to stick to it. One thing that I learn primes another, sets the stage for another, and then when I learn that, they connect, and then I learn something else, and those connect. So it builds this sort of, like I say, it's a three-dimensional type thing, and it does take. Look, it takes more time. Sometimes you'll go to a resource, it's kind of crap, but there's a lesson in that, which is fine. But it takes more time, but it leads to a better, at least in my view, a better learning outcome. I think if you look at cognitive science and educational psychology, you will also see that that's really how the best learning works. Anyway, that and also self-assessment and reflection is the best way for information to stick, sort of long term. That sort of reflective stage of learning something, doing something, and then reflecting on it, and then you go again. It's the spiral, right? So I don't think anyone ever really taught me that explicitly, but it's just something I've sort of gained, over time. And it makes for a very rich and interesting life, I've found, because I find so many things interesting, and I learn this thing, and then it spawns off into 3 more things I want to learn about. It just always continues, the continuous wonder. And if I ever lose that, I don't know what I would do, but that is kind of how I do. I used a lot of your content to learn another direction that I was getting. Yeah, exactly. So it's a good compliment, right? So things like YouTube can complement a formal class that you're taking in the university or some other training program. And, I don't think YouTube or anything of that sort is really a substitute. I'm a big proponent of in-person learning, like learning in class and having, real human touch points with the learning environment. I know not everyone can do that, and it's having virtual education is better than having none. But I'm still a firm believer in like the human element of teaching, and things like YouTube and Udemy, and whatever, and third party books, whatever else can be sort of a complement to that, and serve as that multidimensional learning experience that really makes for a rich understanding of everything. But I will say I found out too, though, sometimes because of the way I learn, it's sometimes hard to go in depth because my brain wants to go breadth. And when you go, the way I learn, when you go depth, it's really like a black hole. There's a singularity at the bottom of it, and it's hard to get back out. But that's the trade-off. I like learning about a lot of different things. All right, where we are. We're doing good. Thanks. You're very, very welcome. Excellent. So I have time for a few more, 2 or 3 more questions or comments if you want to put them in the chat. And I'll answer those. I'm going to recap a couple of things I said at the beginning. So I want to make sure that people that came in after kind of get that info. So I'll answer 1 or 2 more questions or comments, and then I'm going to do a recap, and we're going to be done. All right. Do you worry at all about forgetting what you just learned in a book? I asked this because after I got started to use Anki for memorizing some stuff, I started to note how much we naturally forget. Yeah, and that's the other thing. And I think Julie would probably agree with me. The way that I learn and Julie seems to learn is that what happens is that when you learn from something and then you learn from something similar, it's a reinforcement. So in the second thing that you kind of learn from, you will see stuff from the first. And if you go on to the third thing you learn from, in that you'll see information from the first and the second. And you also have the connection between the first and the second. So what I've learned from learning from different sources is that it's a reinforcement sort of thing. So like when I was reading all the books about infectious disease during COVID, because I couldn't do anything else, and those books helped me cope with the situation. Like similar things would come up in each book, right? And each time I came across it, it would reinforce itself about whatever, biological phenomenon or whatever historical event or whatever else. So there would be a reinforcement because these things appear, it's a Venn diagram where some things overlap. So what happens is it's not, for me at least, it's not about remembering something, because by the time I've gotten done with it, I've turned it from learning into like a narrative, almost into a story about whatever it is. And once it becomes like a part of a story, of a part of like a, not just learning a fact, it's not like Trivial Pursuit. Once it becomes part of like a story or a narrative, you almost never forget it, ever. And there are things that sort of I might seem to forget, but they're still in there. It's still in there, and then it'll pop back out. But the thing is, the way to remember things is to put them in context, put them in like a narrative or a story, And people think I'm people think I'm insane anyway. But my philosophy is that I can't be insane if I realize it. But even if you're learning something technical or mathematical, programming, whatever else, you can learn a ton by writing it out, just like in paragraph form. And you turn it into like a vignette or a story that you can remember. They can be just a few sentences, 3 or 4 sentences. If you're learning about limits in calculus, you're learning about some element of Python, right? It's almost like commenting your code. Like if you're learning how to code, yeah, you have the code you're learning, but really the real learning comes from your comments you put in there. Like, what is this doing? How does this work? And you document it in there. And then that's really where you learn. So it's kind of like that. But like, but some things, yeah, if you try to experience something once, you're almost always going to forget it. But the phenomena here, and this is the last thing I'll talk about, to prevent this, it's called, it's like what's called spatial rehearsed something. There's a name for it. Spaced rehearsal. I think that's what they call it. Spaced rehearsal. whereby you learn something, and then your memory or knowledge of it starts to decay. Actually, you're looking at the other way. It starts to decay, right? And then right at the point where it starts to decay at a certain point, your memory or whatever else of it, you hit it again, and it bounces back up. And then it'll start to decay again, but it decays slower, and it'll decay slower. Boom, then you hit it again. And then the decay levels off over time if you do that spaced rehearsal. So you always want to come back and hit something you've learned again. In like, me and Julie were saying, not only do we come back and hit something we've learned again, we'll come back at it from a different direction. So it's spaced rehearsal to remember things, but also coming at it from different ways can help with that, because when you learn something from a different way, it also introduces an element of novelty. And as humans, we love novelty. So if somebody explains the same concept in 3 different ways, right? So maybe you watch my video about some topic, and then you watch, Josh's StatQuest video about some topic, or his book, and then you read like your textbook about that topic, or whatever else. There's this spaced rehearsal, but also an element of novelty, and that helps you remember. So, all right. How much of this is going to fit? Yeah, it's probably too long. Julie says, I don't know if in-person is important, but I think interaction is incredibly important. Being able to ask questions and get clarification, see how other people are perceiving things. Plus, I think the best professors assess students and augment their lessons to meet them where the students are at, or build off the experiences they bring to the table. Real world examples. Restaurant. Okay, yeah, it kind of cut off because it was too long. So it's blocking my face, so I'm gonna put this down. Yeah, there's no doubt that having education is better than, even if it's virtual, is better than none. But I will always be a firm believer that in-person education is the best way. And we can disagree. That's fine. There's no, it's no big deal. But in my experience, like in my teaching experience where I have taught in person, I've taught at like almost every grade level, imaginable. I can, and tutored I've tutored like 100 students over the years. I've said this on this channel before. I can learn more about what a student is thinking by watching their eyeballs, or watching the tip of their pencil, or watching what they might almost press on the keyboard, or their body language. I can tell what they're thinking or what they're having problems with. Obviously, also in person, I think in person it's easier to hold everyone accountable, teacher and student accountable. There's a vested interest in showing up. And obviously, the interaction between students is immeasurably valuable, because one student's having a question, there are probably a quarter of the class or more has the same question. When I was in, this is the last thing I'll say because we're over an hour. Argue the most valuable educational experiences I ever had, especially in my math classes, were when we would go up to the board and work problems. So it would literally, in my math classes, either two or 3 walls would be whiteboards. And our teachers would first ask for volunteers. Like, let's say we had, I don't know, problems 5 through 35 odd for homework. So the teacher would take volunteers and say, okay, who wants to do question 5? That person will go up to the board, do question 5, and then who wants to do 7, 9? So the whole 2 or 3 walls of the classroom were students up there working a homework problem and then explaining it to everybody else. it was just, I loved it. It was just amazing, you know? So, so anyway, you know, I still believe in-person learning is really the best sort of situation, if at all possible. And then there are other side benefits of relationships you build. It's fun. You know, you tend to have more fun. It's more enjoyable. But I know not everyone can do that. I know it can be expensive, especially in higher education, for that sort of experience. So education at all is much better than none, but I still think in-person learning is really the best scenario, assuming that you have a good teacher, obviously, and you have students who really want to be there. So, all right, I'm going to recap a couple of things, and we're going to get out of here because we all got stuff to do. So the TLDT. So first of all, I will be overseas till almost the end of October. So there won't be a live stream until the last weekend in October. So basically a month from 4 weeks from now. So if you don't see anything pop up for a live stream, that is why. I will be in Switzerland, unplugging and just vegging out, honestly. So there'll be nothing live stream wise for a month. However, all the TLDR series videos are going to be released every day. They're going to be scheduled to be released every day. So the stats one I just finished, the finance one is ongoing, and then there will be the ISL every Friday that will be coming out, actually through November. These will come out every Friday through November. Then there'll be some ones on some basic accounting principles. And then right now I'm working on some on calculus. So those will all be released every day from now through the beginning of November, even when I'm on vacation. So, so make sure you check those out. There's quick hitting, helpful videos, hopefully, for those people who just need a quick concept overview of whatever the video is about. You know, it's like a kind of a Cliff Notes, highlights of the main topics or concepts in that chapter. Some of them don't cover the whole sort of concept. They might focus on one specific thing. So for example, on applications of derivatives in this calculus series, the video is really focused on anti-differentiation or integration as an application of derivatives. So it's worth the 2 to 4 minutes to just, refresh your memory or learn something new. And just, again, just a learning piece of content that you can check out. So I hope you find it helpful. All right. Speaking of YouTube, I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to go wrap to the coffee shop and get to work for you all for a couple of hours and try to get some more content ready to roll. And I'm going to come back here and enjoy the rest of my Saturday. And tomorrow I'm taking all off. Tomorrow is my rest day. So I hiked 5 miles this morning, so I don't have to do that tomorrow. But yeah, so I'm going to go do some more work for you all, and then there'll be content released every day for the next over a month. So make sure scheduled to release over a month. So make sure you check that out. But I'm going to head out, and I wish all of you a great rest of your weekend. I'm so happy that you stopped by and spent some time with me. And I wish you and all of your loved ones and those you care about a happy, healthy, and safe rest of the weekend and month when I see you next. So take care and bye-bye.